we go through the week of wrestling and review the good and the bad and the ugly in wrestling, which at this current stage is a lot, but that's just our opinion here at the W Factor. So I am William, and joined as ever by my son Luke, where we will go through a week in wrestling. Luke, how are you?
I'm alright.
You're alright. Yeah, I'm alright too. So we're just back from a week away, so there will be a short recap of NXT, and there will be no news from the Impact Zone, just due to time restraints. We're also going to do something a little different this week. There will not be images on your screen apart from the logos of the shows that we'll be reviewing, and the poster for the Recommend a Match pay-per-view at the end of the show. So, yep, something a little different. Obviously, if you've got any issues or any complaints, comments, whatever, please raise it in the live chat box just now, or on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, anything like that. And, we'll take your comments on board and we'll adapt to find something that's suitable for everyone. So, we'll start off with Monday Night Raw, Luke. We have Orton opening the show, recapping his victory over Drew McIntyre in the 6-man tag match that he had last week with the Street Profits, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. McIntyre appears and says that every time they're in the same building, he will kick his ass. They have a bit of a scuffle. Orton manages to get away, and we move on to the next segment. So, I don't know, it's, as much as I liked it at the start, Orton versus Drew just feels a little bit repetitive now.
Yeah, that's just everything in wrestling. Well, not wrestling, WWE. It's just treading on stuff that's already happened and all that. It doesn't.
I mean, I think. Sorry to interrupt you. Go.
Yeah, that's fine.
I was just going to say, I think we discussed quite early on in our run of the show that Orton was supposed to continue a feud with Edge, but Edge unfortunately suffered an injury, so they threw Randy Orton into the title scene, which I've got absolutely no issue with.
Yeah,
but
like, Randy in the title scene is usually good, but it's just they've been too long.
It's kind of like, right, okay, he's been in the title scene and he's not actually won the title. Why don't you give him something else to do? Give him a different opponent. Drew McIntyre has defeated him multiple times, and they've involved legends of the industry, Ric Flair, Big Show, Shawn Michaels. Like these are all guys that have gotten involved in this feud, and they were involved, they were taken out one by one, they then were revived for a pay-per-view match, and then they were taken out again. So it's kind of like, right, I think the end of the story between Randy and Drew should have been Clash of Champions. However, they clearly don't have anything else for either party to do, so they're just going to continue to push them against each other.
Like, you'd think when the draft came in, they would be feuding with someone else, or like an entire different story would be put into motion, but nah. It's like it's fine until draft comes in, like, because like you just gotta have something to do, but then it just feels I don't know.
To me, the draft is an opportunity for new storylines, new feuds, closing the chapter on some older feuds. This is actually the last episode of this season, in air quotes, as they've called it. Now, they don't really talk about that a lot, where Raw and SmackDown technically have seasons to work with, but this Raw that we're discussing just now from this week is the last episode of the season, and the new season started on SmackDown Friday of this week. But it's kind of like that, the draft is supposed to be closing the chapter on storylines and then opening the chapter on new storylines. However, the way that people have been drafted, not a lot has changed. I don't really see there being a lot of storylines being changed. So Randy and Drew are both still on Raw. They're going to continue to feud until something else happens. Edge has yet to be cleared for in-ring action. The plan is to have Edge and Randy face each other at WrestleMania next year, but that still leaves a lot of Monday Night Raw episodes where something else has to happen. Something that Randy has to be doing something basically. So
I don't know. Instead of the championship, maybe I would have liked to see Randy in the Universal scene, or like something with the Fiend.
I think Randy would fit quite nicely into SmackDown, because I'd be quite happy for Randy Orton to be drafted to SmackDown and remain in the title scene. You know, normally you'd kind of be like, oh, he's went from one title scene to another title scene, you know, that's just shit. But no, I'd be quite happy for Randy to be that person, to move from one title scene to the different brand's title scene. But no, they decided not to do that. Now, there was more draft picks throughout this episode of Raw, however, we'll save that for the end because I've got a spreadsheet and we'll just go through who's been picked for what show instead of doing it. Because I think it was like after every second match or after every sort of commercial break, they drafted like 4 people. So we'll wait until the end of our episode, so we'll just, as it stands, we'll just pretend that the draft doesn't happen until the very end. So we move on then to Kevin Owens versus Aleister Black again.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so these guys have a no disqualification match, which is actually Aleister Black kind of in his element. A lot of his best work is not hardcore elements, but outside of the ring, you know, the barricade, the announcer's table, even just tables in general. Aleister Black is always quite good with that. It was actually a really good match the two guys put on. The only thing for me was the stigma. I don't know why they're really feuding. Aleister Black doesn't really have a personality anymore. He's not even a character. He's just some guy. He doesn't say much either.
He lost his personality. It's so weird. It's like he's such an empty shell from what he used to be. It's just so annoying.
I would much rather relive Shawn Michaels losing his smile, which was a bullshit storyline anyway, but I'd much rather relive Shawn Michaels losing his smile than Aleister Black losing his soul. Like there's nothing to it. So the guys put on a really good match. There's a really good announcer's table spot, where Aleister Black throws Kevin Owens onto it, and it does look like a proper hard bump. I would probably say that this match is one of the better moments in the entire show, which I found myself quite surprising to note that.
It had to be a no disqualifications match for that though.
Yeah, I mean, people like Aleister Black and Kevin Owens, they seem to fit better into a no disqualifications, into a street fight or a no holds barred or something like that. Kevin Owens had a feud with Shane McMahon about 3 years ago, and they ended up doing a no holds barred or a street fight or something like that, and it was really good.
Yeah, but that's not the point. The point is they're not really enjoying the normal matches. Of the show, which should be something that has to happen. You should be watching just no wrestling matches and enjoying it. But they have to do something like a no holds barred or something.
They need to add some sort of gimmick to the match rather than just having a straightforward.
Or they have to bring in the kendo stick with Dominic. Dominic has to do a tag. It's just, I don't know. It's just so dead.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with Dead. That seems like a good recap of it. So we then have a title handover. The Street Profits and New Day both on the same show this evening. They just swap over their titles. Now, I suppose they had to do something, because I feel that they kind of dug themselves a hole when they were like, right, the New Day are the SmackDown champions, but we'll draft them to Raw, and the Street Profits are the Raw team champions, so we'll draft them to SmackDown. Why not have them lose the belts? I mean, New Day didn't have the belts until the same night they were drafted. That just seems stupid.
Yeah. Why not just when a draft happens, reset belts or something, or like reset tag belts, because it's a bit more complicated.
Yeah, and I know it's like kayfabe wise, you know, the general manager of SmackDown, the general manager of Raw was like, right, boom, I want the New Day, and then as SmackDown is happening, the New Day perform so well that they win the titles off of the opponents. But everybody knows that that's not how it works. Wrestling is scripted. Wrestling is predetermined. So why would you actually have them win the titles and then draft them to the opposite brand?
Well, I don't know. Like, it's kayfabe, isn't it? Like when you write a story, you want it to feel realistic and go, what would they do? What would other people do if that happened? What would happen no matter what they done, right? So I don't have an issue with it, but like I get what you mean, but you cannot be going into like a story and going, no, it's fake, so they should sort this out. Like, I'm not saying that like WWE's writing is good, but it's like I don't know how to say that. It's just like there's so many angles you can put onto that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of these things. It's like, okay, keep kayfabe alive, but understand that your audience knows that kayfabe isn't the reality of the situation. So have Randy and Drew feud, you know, have them kick the shit out of each other, have them batter and bloody each other, kayfabe. You know, because the two guys are quite friendly backstage, but you know, the fans will look past that and they'll enjoy the show, but don't have an awkward moment where the two champions of the opposite show have to hand over their titles very awkwardly, especially when it's 4 belts. Like, it's not just, you know, here's the United States, here's the Intercontinental. It's like 4 belts. I'm pretty sure they bumped into each other at one point as well, as they were literally handing them over.
It's just weird.
Yeah, that's all I'll say. It was very, very strange, very sort of awkward moment, but it had to be done. I just feel that it maybe could have been done a wee bit better. I mean, even have have the belts vacated. If you're the champion, but if you're the tag team champions for a specific, so the Intercontinental in the United States work because they don't have the brand name in it. It's not the Raw United States. Yeah. It's not the SmackDown Intercontinental. So they're fine, but you've got the Raw Tag Team Champions, the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Maybe have those belts vacated, and then once the draft is done, you then have a solid SmackDown roster and a solid Raw roster. There's no more trades. There's no more drafting. Everything's sorted. Everything's laid out. Put into everything's written in stone. Then you have your tag teams for your brand going for that belt. Because now, yes, the Street Profits were the Raw Tag Team Champions, but they're automatically the SmackDown Tag Team Champions now.
Yeah.
I would have done it differently, but what's done is done. There we go.
I've kind of got an idea, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if this has been done before, but drafting has been going on for ages.
Yes.
What, and especially on like COVID and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Why won't you try and mix it up? This could have been done before. I don't know, but like, because there's something in the back of my mind about it. But why not make it not like a tournament format, but well, wrestlers wrestle to fight on what brand they want to be on. It can still be a kayfabe kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is that, like, if you have a championship, you don't go in that kind of tournament kind of thing. You kind of just stay on that brand.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is that it's kind of like the wrestlers pick what brand they want to compete on. So, like, let's say they would have an eye on like the WWE Championship. They wrestle someone, and whoever wins that that match, gets to pick what brand they want to be on, and goes on to Raw.
I think that would be really good.
Yeah.
I think that would be probably a lot more interesting, and it would fill at least 3 or 4 weeks. of TV time that they were clearly struggling to fill anyway.
Also, it could have worked in storylines as well, like the New Day and Big E. They get separated because one of them loses a match, and someone goes like, no, I don't care if you want to be with him or them, you're going here, or because they have the championship.
Yeah.
And then like Big E's okay versus Sheamus, Big E versus Sheamus. Like Sheamus wins, goes to like Raw or something, but like Big E still can't go to the New Day because he lost the match and he has to compete again. Just something where like Big E isn't in control of going with his friends, and it would make an emotional moment, you know.
That probably would have been a lot better than what we had last week, where they just stared at the Titantron for like 3 solid minutes, holding back tears.
Yeah.
As like the New Day team, which is Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, win, and they get to choose which brand they go to, and they're like, oh, we'll go to Raw. And then Big E's like, right, cool, I'll beat Sheamus and I'll come to Raw with you. But unfortunately, whether it's dirty tactics or whether Sheamus just beats him clean, Sheamus goes, right, I'm going to Raw. And Big E's like, oh fuck, I'm stuck on SmackDown until I beat somebody.
Yeah. And
then he just never gets it. And then by, maybe 2 weeks' time, Big E just hasn't managed to beat anybody to get his opportunity to go to the brand of his choosing, which would have to be Raw. That's where he would want to go, that's where his friends are.
But he's stuck in SmackDown.
But he's stuck in SmackDown, and he's in...
I want to try and keep that Sheamus Big E feud alive, so I would say like Sheamus doesn't go where the New Day is, because then like the New Day would just hate him. So it would say SmackDown, but I'm saying like Big E doesn't get to Raw because he lost. He needs to compete again.
Yep.
Or maybe like he doesn't get a chance to compete again, and he's just randomly selected to go into here.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing. So he's lost his opportunity. He's lost his friends. Or maybe the New Day said, "No man, you need this solo. Beat Sheamus."
Yeah.
You know, he's trying to keep us apart. Don't let him do that, and make sure he doesn't do it again, and go over to that brand and fight him. Just a lot more of a unique storytelling perspective shown with Draft.
It would have had storytelling. That's the thing. The Draft doesn't have a story. The Draft is just boom, 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 boom. You're on Raw, you're on SmackDown.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm just like, I want to create the Draft into a story, an event. Because the draft,
and why not? It's wrestling.
Yeah. Like the first time they done the draft was really good because that was new, and you'd be like, oh, the Undertaker take our first pick to go to Raw.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's very interesting. And then like after like the 5th time, you're like,
yeah, kind of gets dull after a while.
Especially when you see AJ Styles being drafted for no reason.
Yeah. What I would like is see if we were to go from your reality where Big E loses his opportunity and has to fight on SmackDown, has to compete on SmackDown. We then open the new season of SmackDown, and Big E is angry, but he's angry at himself, and there we go. We've got a whole new character.
Yeah.
Still Big E, like he's not a heel, he's still Big E,
but
he's clearly going through a lot of issues. He's angry at himself, which means that he fights differently. He's a bit more hard hitting. Maybe he gets some more submission victories rather than pinfall victories, like he did over the Miz when he had his first solo match. So at least we would have a bit of flavour into the new season, rather than just clearly somebody backstage going, okay, they're on Raw, they're on SmackDown, he's on SmackDown, she's on Raw. There's no story.
Yeah.
And I think I would have really liked a story. So we have Congosaurus live in the chat box just now. The draft was the perfect opportunity to unify the division, as neither show has anywhere near enough teams to have serious separate divisions on each show. It was the perfect opportunity, however they split up the New Day. I suppose they split up a 3-man team, but they still have 2 men of that team on the same brand, so they haven't really split up that team, but they split up Heavy Machinery.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was a weird team to split up.
What's Tucker gonna do?
Well, exactly. What's Cotis going to do? Otis and Cotis are no longer in the same show. I think they split up another team, but I can't remember off the top of my head who that was, which clearly clearly doesn't matter.
It wasn't Miz and Morrison.
No, they're still in the same show.
Isn't there's luchadors that are still together?
The Lucha House Party were split, but they were the farthest thing from an important team, which is a shame because you've got the Lucha Brothers on Dynamite, which are tearing up the division, and then you've got the Lucha House Party, which are people will actively tune out of the show when they come on, which is a shame. Okay, so there we go. That's our review on the draft. As I say,
WWE steal my idea.
Yes,
I
please,
want it to be good.
please steal Luke's idea. He will not sue anybody if the show becomes worthwhile watching. But we'll move on then. As I said at the beginning, we'll talk about who got drafted to which show at the end. The Messiah says his goodbyes. The Monday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins, is in the ring, and he asks, "Who will fill my shoes now that I'm gone?" Boom. Jeff Hardy's music hits. I had a weird moment of excitement thinking about Seth Rollins and Jeff Hardy having a one-on-one. I think it was just the fact that both are really good competitors, one from my childhood and one from my sort of early to late teens, and I was like, put them together in a match. So my excitement was kind of dissolved because AJ Styles then got involved, and it turned out to be a triple threat between all three men. So yeah, I mean, a one-on-one would have been fine. I was really happy with a one-on-one between these two guys. I like AJ Styles, but a one-on-one matchup turned into a triple threat is a step back, especially when you've got competitors such as AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy and Seth Rollins. Like, I want to see them going one-on-one. I don't want there to be a third member in this match that then draws focus away from someone else.
Yeah, I'm just disinterested in AJ.
There's definitely he's lost so much steam from maybe to even last year.
Yeah.
Like, just lost a lot of steam behind him. So yeah, we got a lovely whisper in the wind from Jeff to the two opponents from the top rope. Jeff goes for Poetry in Motion, but Elias Sampson returns, smashes a guitar over the back, and AJ gets the pin. So he smashes his guitar over Jeff's back as he goes for Poetry in Motion, and AJ Styles then picks up the victory. Elias, when did we last see Elias? Was he not thrown from some sort of balcony at WrestleMania?
No, he wasn't.
Did we see him after WrestleMania?
No, I'm thinking we didn't even see him at WrestleMania. Did we see him at WrestleMania?
I'm really not sure. Honestly, Elias...
Far back as I can remember was the Royal Rumble. I don't know why.
You might be right there. You might be right there. Elias has never really got anything from me. He's never got heat. He's never got cheers. Yeah.
I like Elias. What, you don't like a Walk with Elias?
I liked it at the beginning. I liked him in NXT, but it's just like the guy came out every week on Raw or SmackDown, whichever it was, and he would play a song on the guitar that I would skip through, like almost every time, skipped through, and then somebody would come out and interrupt him. And the best part of Elias to me was when somebody would come out to interrupt him. Okay. Like, he would play one chord on the guitar and somebody else's music would hit, and he would look up like, what the fuck, man? So that I thought was great.
I think I think if they went somewhere with like Elias and really tried to boost this whole Walk with Elias kind of like thing, I don't know, I feel like there's something they could have done with that, because like I would watch the Royal Rumble, and then when he would say Walk with Elias, the crowd would say it with him. The
crowd loved him.
Yeah.
Just me, I didn't, but you know, the crowd loved him. So yep, that's how that triple threat ends. We then have Angel Garza, who has a match against Andrade. The match itself was dull. Angel versus Andrade leads to Andrade and Zelina Vega being in the ring. Angel leaves. The Fiend and Alexa Bliss get in the ring with the two that are already in there, Andrade and Vega. And they hit a simultaneous Sister Abigail. The female on female and male on male hit a simultaneous Sister Abigail. And I need to say that moment was the only good thing about this one-on-one.
Andrade is undergoing minor surgery as well.
Apparently they're building to Andrade and Charlotte versus The Fiend and Alexa Bliss. Because Charlotte and Andrade are engaged, married, one of them. They're together in real life and everybody knows it. However, they've not made a storyline out of that. So unless they start to build some sort of storyline, you're just going to get two random people who have chemistry because they're in a relationship in real life, but you know, the storyline wise, they're not in a relationship. They've not been in storylines together. So you're going to have two people that are unrelated, and Alexa and The Fiend, or Joker and Harley Quinn, as people are slowly starting to refer to them as.
I hate that.
Yeah, it was really bad. So moving on then, we have the New Day having their first match on Monday Night Raw. They go up against Ziggler and Robert Roode. Honestly, out of Austin Creed and Kofi Kingston, Austin Creed was... Who's Austin Creed? Xavier Woods. Who's Austin Creed? I've written down Austin Creed. Xavier Woods, my mistake, I don't know who that guy is, Austin Creed. Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, I need to say that Xavier Woods put out one hell of a performance. Looking good. Like, normally you would have him standing at ringside for the New Day, you know, blowing the trumpet or throwing pancakes at people, but no, he was amazing. He was also really good looking, like he's clearly been doing a lot of gym work.
I'm looking at a photo of him right now, he looks good.
He looks good, yep, shredded. I would definitely say that he was the star of the show, not just the star of the match, the star of the show, man. What a performance this guy put on. He got a hot tag off of Kofi Kingston, and in his moment of hot tag, he took out both of the opponents twice and just, you know, cleared the ring. It was amazing. If anyone didn't catch Raw, I would definitely say go back and watch at least this tag team match. I thought it was absolutely amazing. So the New Day pick up the win there. Now, we have women division drama throughout the entire show. Now, I am going to recap it because it was absolute shit. Lana and Natalya have a match against two other people that I can't remember. They lose. Natalya blames Lana. Their mini tag team thing that they formed, their random tag team, split up. There's then a battle royale with all of the women on Raw to find out who will face Asuka at Hell in a Cell, because she's yet to have an opponent, and Lana wins this battle royale for some strange reason, so she now gets a title opportunity at Hell in a Cell, and I really hope that they don't stretch out to be like a joke storyline where Lana somehow accidentally pins Asuka, gets the victory, gets the title, and then Lana, who I would probably say Lana is one of these people in the women's division who deserves the Divas belt rather than the women's belt.
I guess
the whole thing was that the Divas belt was like insulting, which is why when Paige, Charlotte, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Becky Lynch and all that people, when they came up, they started the women's revolution. They weren't divas, they weren't bikini contests or lingerie matches or mud wrestling matches or whatever. They were wrestlers, they were female wrestlers, they were female superstars and competitors, but there's still some people in that division who aren't there yet. I would have always said Nikki Bella and Brie Bella were divas. Lana's a diva. There's still some people in the company that I say bring back the Divas belt so that they have like an intercontinental version, or a US version, like a mid-card women's belt.
It's better than just having a feud and then nothing, like not like there wasn't really a stake of about happening.
Mm-hmm. So as I say, Lana wins this battle royale, so she gets to face Asuka at Hell in a Cell. I hope it's a squash. I just get out of the way, because if they turn it into some sort of joke and Lana ends up continuously winning by accident matches, and retaining her title to go all the way through for like, I don't know, 100 odd days or whatever, it's kind of like, right, enough. Asuka is a good competitor and she deserves a better opponent, especially for a pay-per-view. Backstage talk actually has it that WWE and AEW are secretly competing to see who has the worst women's division.
Yeah.
Yeah. That doesn't shock me. That doesn't make me think, oh, that rumour's unrealistic or anything like that. I can see backstage WWE and backstage AEW being like that. Right, okay, let's just, between the both of us, let's see how many ratings we can get on Wednesday night shows, and then let's also see who has the worst women's division.
Who do you think has the worst women's division?
Oh, Raw.
Okay.
Raw, definitely. Or WWE as a whole, but Raw is probably a little bit ahead of SmackDown when it comes to their women's division. Yeah, because at least SmackDown has Bayley and Sasha Banks still doing their thing. It's getting a wee bit better now that we're coming up to Hell in a Cell. It's kind of like, right, okay, this could be the end of their feud, and you can imagine that both women, being as good competitors as they are, putting on one hell of a performance for a pay-per-view like that. So Randy and Drew, they close the show by having a brawl outside of the ring, and then having to be separated by officials. It doesn't even end in a match. It just ends in these two appearing out of nowhere, kicking the shit at each other, and then being separated by officials, and then roll credits. That was the end of Raw. So moving on then to NXT, as I say, due to being on holiday, we've not been able to cover the full week of NXT, but I've got two things that I read about and caught sort of social media snippets that I would like to discuss. So one of which is Killian Dane and Drake Maverick, who are the weird tag team that were sort of forced together. You've got Drake Maverick, that's like a overexcited ADHD child, and then you've got Killian Dane, who just clearly doesn't want to be anywhere near the guy. So Dane and Maverick face Imperium, who are a very, very neo-Nazi-esque sort of tag team. Like, they're very serious and military kind of operate. Like, they're very what's probably the best way to describe it? They're very official looking. They walk out to serious music. When they get in the ring, they face the hard camera, hands folded behind their back. They take off their zip jumpers in unison. They're cool looking bad guys, is what I'll say to that.
Are they Russian bad guys?
They seem Russian, however, I believe that one is American, one's British in real life, but they do seem very Russian military sort of esque.
Because if you said neo-Nazi, that would not fly.
True. So we'll go with Russian, then we'll break it down. We'll say Russian. That's probably better. So Dane and Maverick face Imperium in a match that starts with Drake Maverick trying to push a name for the tag team, the Fury and the Furry. Dane shuts him down instantly. They then come out to their team music that they had last week, and I think the week before we had a bit where Drake Maverick picked the music.
Yeah.
But Dane doesn't want to be in this tag team, so he gets the music turned off like moments after it starts playing. Imperium picks up the victory during this match. Drake Maverick ends up in the ring a bit too long, and going up against these two big, like 6 foot, built like tanks motherfuckers, they take him out, pin him, they get the win.
Drake isn't bad, right? But I don't want to make Drake just useless I want Drake to have some qualities where he could probably hold for himself, because it seems like that could get pretty tiring and you wouldn't want to root for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, make him a bit schemy or something, because he seems like that kind of guy. But just I wanna, a lot of people like to watch wrestlers that win, and we're just watching this guy not being able to.
Yeah,
win.
we're watching this guy getting absolutely beaten to death, waiting for his tag team partner to get involved. However, on this occasion and a couple of occasions previously, Killian Dane either doesn't get involved or something stops him from getting involved, and then we're just watching this like 5-foot guy getting pinned by bigger, more muscular people than him.
Yeah.
And as Luke says, it just you lose interest when you already know the outcome of the match, kind of thing. Like someone like Drake Maverick, when you see them come out and then they go up against, do you remember Authors of Pain? The two big Samoan guys.
Yeah.
Like, imagine they were still in the company and you had Drake Maverick versus the Authors of Pain. You know who's winning that. You don't even have any hopes that Drake Maverick's going to pull something out the bag. But after the match ends, as I said, Imperium pick up the win, but Everrise, who were their opponents from last week, they come in and they taunt and pick on Drake Maverick, bully him, push him about and stuff. Killian Dane then gets in the ring, clears the ring of the bullies, and says to Drake Maverick, "Nobody hits you but me." That made me laugh, which is why I felt that this was noteworthy rather than not saying anything about NXT. We also have Dexter Lumis in action, who we discussed last week. Both of us are very interested in Dexter Lumis sheerly on look alone, like physique and just his style basically. So he is in a match for the North American title. A really impressive show from both Dexter Lumis and the North American champion Damian Priest. However, Cameron Grimes, who's an NXT competitor, sneaks into the ring, attacks Lumis, setting up the South of Heaven by Priest for the victory. So Priest retains. The NXT North American champion gave Grimes the Reckoning for getting involved. Now, both the South of Heaven and Reckoning are his sort of signatures and finishers. I need to say the Reckoning is a pretty good finisher. I will let everyone sort of find that on their own though, if they don't watch NXT. As Priest is celebrating, Johnny Gargano struck him with a steel chair from behind. William Regal announces that both Gargano and Candice LeRae would get title opportunities, but Shotzi Blackheart announced both match types would be determined with a spin the wheel, make a deal, which is something they done last year, I believe, and it is exactly what it sounds like. You spin the wheel, you make a deal on what the match is going to be, who it's going to be against, what's the gimmick and the stipulation and stuff like that. So those are the two things I wanted to note from NXT. As I say, there's no Impact this week, but moving on to the saving grace of wrestling for me, AEW Dynamite.
Pretty sure for a lot of people as well. A lot
of people, most likely. You'll still get like I'm on all these different wrestling pages and groups and stuff, and you get all these die-hard WWE fans who will slag off AEW and say that it's flippy bullshit and they don't have a women's division and it's just all tag team matches and WWE's better, Raw's better and SmackDown's better. But then you think your argument is that WWE's better than AEW because AEW has a bad women's division. So does WWE. Yeah. And then
to be fair, the AEW do sometimes have a good women's match.
They do. They definitely try, to give the fans a better women's division, but they just haven't done anything spectacular, and I don't think they're...
It's more to individual performances than it is like a storyline.
Yeah, it's not storylines, it's not feuds, it's not titles, it's just individual performers, as Luke said. So as I was saying, you get WWE fans, die-hard fans that are like AEW is just tag team matches. It's like, okay, but WWE, doesn't have any good teams. They've got like who have they got? They've got the New Day. They've got the Street Profits. They broke up Andrade and Angel Garza, but they've kept them on the same brand, I believe. They broke up. They broke up the New Day, but they've kept the tag team element of it. But they broke up the 3-man team. They broke up Heavy Machinery. Their women's tag team don't like each other. Like Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, their characters don't like each other, so it's hardly even a team. I would rather watch a show that has too many teams as opposed to a show that has like 3 teams, because that's not a division. That's just 6 people who like each other who will sometimes wrestle with each other. So this is the anniversary show. This is AEW's 1 year anniversary. And speaking of tag teams, we open with the Best Friends, who get a 60-minute opportunity to face FTR for the tag team gold. What an opening match, man! Amazing between all 4 guys. Trent ends up taking a beating from both FTR as Chuck is wiped out of the ring. Trent reverses a back suplex from the top rope to get the pin, and he lands right on Dash Wilder's head. I believe it's Dash Wilder. I'll just quickly double check that. No, is it Dash? No, it's Cash Wheeler. Sorry, Cash Wheeler. I always get FTR confused. Cash Wheeler. He lands right in his face, right in his head, and the referee starts to count for the pin because both shoulders are on the ground. So that's pretty cool to be able to reverse something from the top rope, to be able to maneuver yourself in midair into reversal to get the pin, or to get a pin attempt, is impressive. So a great teamwork. Both guys tell the story that they are team players. They break up almost every pin. They're always there for their partner unless they are completely immobilised. As I was saying, Chuck was wiped out. He was like semi-unconscious outside of the ring, which is why Trent had to do things on his own for a while. But it wasn't long before Chuck was straight back into the fight. So Trent, they end up outside the ring. Trent is sent head first into an arcade unit that Kip Sabian is playing rather than watching the show. A bit silly, but the heels pick up the win. In the end, Miro and Kip get in the ring and fuck up the Best Friends for destroying this arcade unit. To me, the last wee bit wasn't really necessary, but I also feel that it didn't spoil the tag team match. It never interrupted it. Like, it happened after the match was done. The heels picked up the victory, and then as the Best Friends were sort of recuperating, Miro and Kip Sabian came out and started to batter them. So yeah, I would say absolutely nothing wrong with having that little thing at the end. It wasn't necessary in the same, in the same hand. It wasn't necessary. Moving on, then we have Miro and Kip take on a jobber team, Maluda and Lee Johnson. Both guys have appeared on Dark, but I had to double check their names multiple times as I was watching and taking notes, because I kept getting them, not even getting them confused, like I just didn't know who they were. I've not paid that much attention to them, so I put in brackets that they're jobbers, because in all seriousness they are just now.
It's a bit crap that you have to get jobbers for an anniversary, to be fair.
Yeah.
I would have liked, even if it's talent from Dark, like that. Yeah, that would have been better.
They could have had, if they needed someone for Miro and Kip to beat, and Miro and Kip aren't at the stage where they can beat anyone who is established. They're not going to beat the Lucha Brothers. They're not going to beat Private Party. They're not going to beat.
Well, like just getting 2 people from Dark would do good.
Yeah, exactly.
So just getting jobbers. Yeah.
Yeah. Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison, who do a lot of Dark work as a tag team. Fucking throw them in the ring. I'd happily let them win. So I'll get to the match in a second, but Kongosaurus, weird finish to this match with the way the ref randomly went down to not see the belt shot. Yeah, I think it was one of these moments where it was going to happen, but the ref was staring directly at it and knew that it was going to happen, and he either messes up the match by calling it and disqualifying FTR, or he just looks away. Looks away, looks to the sky, looks to the lights, whatever, just so that he doesn't see it. And I suppose that's probably better than FTR getting caught cheating. If the referee just looks away for a brief second, not a lot of people would notice something like that. But going back to Miro and Kip, they beat Maluda and Johnson, and Miro locks in the Accolade. And now I did show this to Luke as well, but I'm sure a lot of you have already seen on social media. Miro locks in the Accolade, and he doesn't have the guy's chin locked in, so the hands are, the butcher's grip is in place, the guy's head is below, not touching Miro's hands whatsoever, and both start to sell the move.
Like a beast.
Yeah, the guy was selling it like mad, but there was nothing to sell until they quickly fixed it, but the damage was done, screenshots were taken, it was already being shared on social media. So yep, it kind of ruined the whole match, and it was a squash match. Like, there's not much to take from it. It was a squash match, but having something like that, you kind of think, oh, for God's sake,
yes.
Even for a squash match, come on.
Yeah.
So Kip cuts a promo after their victory, saying that Alan was destroyed. Alan, who is the Arcade unit. I didn't mind it happening at the end of the Best Friends versus FTR match. Please don't make a feud out of an Arcade unit being destroyed, and don't name it. It's an Arcade unit. Don't name it. I know that Kip Sabian's supposed to be this modern day man child, where he's a Twitch gamer. I'm not sure what they're trying to go for just now. I'm not sure if they're trying to make him like, is a Twitch influencer a thing, like an Instagram influencer? They're not. It's not a job. They're not an adult, but they're getting given money for doing.
Just a Twitch streamer, they'd be called. They wouldn't be called an influencer, like a Twitch star.
Yeah. So his whole gimmick is that he is a Twitch star.
Yeah.
A Twitch superstar, a Twitch star, whatever. And they're building him and Miro to be this tag team. And I just think, don't build a feud around an Arcade unit being destroyed that you've named Alan. Miro cuts a promo in Bulgarian, which was like scary. Like, Bulgarian's an angry language and Miro's an angry looking guy, so him just screaming at you in a foreign language was a wee bit intimidating. He then translates it and basically threatens the Best Friends. However, he refers to them as the Good Friends. Now, I don't know if that was purposely done, or if he had genuinely made a mistake. Kind of like, I don't know if it was on purpose, like Matt Hardy calling the Young Bucks the Bucks of Youth. Or the Best Friends. I think Matt Hardy referred to the Best Friends as the great acquaintances or something like that. Broken Matt Hardy can get away with that, but Miro calling them the Good Friends.
It's either like, I don't know, like, no matter what, it just doesn't seem that big.
Yeah.
It's just kind of weird. But yeah.
Yeah, bit weird. So after this match, we cut straight to Lance Archer and Jake Roberts just kicking the shit out of Jon Moxley backstage. No build up, no nothing. It just cuts to a backstage incident, and Lance Archer is destroying Jon Moxley, puts him on a table, fucking smashes his face in, just starts hammering in his face with his fist. It was great. The best thing about this though is Jake the Snake has got a snakeskin vest, like a suit vest sort of thing, and he takes that off, and every time somebody gets close enough to intervene and Lance Archer beating up the champ, Jake like shoos them away with the vest, like the Matador.
Yeah.
Like, so he's like shooing them away with his snakeskin vest, and just I think it's the fact that it's old Jake the Snake, like he's an old man and he's shooing these middle-aged security guys. Like, so they're all quite tall, they're all quite muscular, they're all quite big, and Jake the Snake is in his early 60s, flagging a vest at them. I just thought that was great. So the security eventually get past Jake, split up the two, and Lance Archer and Jake the Snake leave quite hastily, and Mox is left just broken and beaten on this table. I thought that was a great little backstage beatdown, and obviously they are having a match later in the show, and I just think that sometimes the heel taking a couple of sneaky shots before their match officially starts is always something that's quite good for the character build.
Yeah.
We get news of the 8-man tournament for the number 1 contender spot. So we've got a full breakdown now. So Rey Fenix will take on his brother Penta El Zero M next week. Kenny Omega will take on Joey Janela next week. Colt Cabana will take on Adam Page. Wardlow will take on Jungle Boy. Now that all starts next week. I quite like the idea of Rey Fenix, and Penta El Zero M, or Pentagon Jr. facing each other. I just think that's quite interesting, and they have been building a bit of tension between these two. However, Eddie Kingston has been like the not the catalyst, the opposite of a catalyst. Like, he's trying to calm these two guys down because they're very explosive with each other. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see. I can see it going Adam Page versus Kenny Omega. Whether that's the finals or the semi-finals, I can see that that's going to be a match, because obviously their tag team broke up. Hangman Adam Page thought that they were still together, and then was slowly heartbroken as it was announced that Kenny Omega was going for a solo run.
A name like Wardlow in there. I think, I don't know. So I think something's going to happen with Wardlow and MJF with this tournament.
I think Wardlow, because he would become number 1 contender, if he was to win it, he would become number 1 contender for the AEW Championship, which...
I don't think he would win it though, it just wouldn't really... It just doesn't make much sense, but...
It would be interesting, but I can see it not happening. But it would be interesting if it did.
No, it's just like... Do you think he'll beat Jungle Boy?
I think he'll beat Jungle Boy.
That's what I'm thinking.
I don't think he'll beat Adam Page.
Yeah.
Who would be who he faces after. If Adam Page beats Colt Cabana, I'm pretty sure he will.
It's just like, would MJF be happy about him losing or angry? That's the thing that I'm thinking about here. You might as well just like make it a talking point in like a promo or something.
Yeah.
When it's
they probably will mention it. I don't know, MJF has never really shown any sort of issue with Wardlow losing unless MJF is involved and suffers the consequences, like the tag match that they had where Wardlow get pinned and MJF was so annoyed at him.
Yeah.
So annoyed at him that... And he obviously being the heel, he was like, it doesn't count as a loss to me because I wasn't pinned. He turned it into a heel sort of a thing. Speaking of MJF though, right?
Mm-hmm.
MJF comes out with Wardlow. This was gold. So, MJF comes out, starts to build some great heel heat for himself. Obviously they have a live audience there now so that you can hear the boos coming down. He says, I have done more in a year at AEW than you schmucks will ever do in your entire pathetic lives. I thought that was a great little thing to mention, where you've already got people booing you.
Yeah.
Get them to boo you more by saying they're pathetic. Now, he then calls out the man who's been in the business for 30 years, Le Champion, Chris Jericho. Jericho's music hits. Now, Jericho being face, heel, whatever, the fans will sing Judas.
Yeah.
The fans will always sing Judas. So they played Judas. I thought they played it for a little bit less time than what they would normally play it for. But the fans sang it for like 3 more minutes. And Jericho just stood there, bit of a heel, showing not showing like pride, not showing any sort of face emotion, being the heel that he was. He just kind of looked cocky. He's like, you people hate me because I'm the heel. but you'll fucking sing my song, and I know you'll sing my song. So it was great, and it's not just the fans that were singing it. It's like other wrestlers. It's the Inner Circle who are all singing it. Sammy Guevara, when he sings Judas, is the best because he's so purposely so out of tune. and
Yeah.
they've not done it in a while, but they would zoom in Sammy Guevara and he would sing, and you would hear his voice cracking and breaking, but everyone would be clapping him like a child. Just on the back of your comment, Congosaurus is saying, I just hope AEW are paying Wardlow for the tournament and MJF isn't having to pick up the tab. That being the fact that apparently Tony Khan or AEW don't sign Wardlow's checks, MJF pays him and he can make his family homeless if he wants to. So that was great. But getting back in, so as I say, Jericho's in the ring, he's looking about at the fans, he's all cocky looking, the fans are singing Judas for like 3 solid minutes, and I just felt a little bit of pride in being a wrestling fan when you've got fans like that. I just thought that was great. So when the Inner Circle all come out, they're all wearing their new jackets, apart from Sammy, because Sammy doesn't have a jacket. They all get in the ring, and I didn't notice this until MJF points it out. Sammy does have a jacket. MJF followed through and got Sammy his jacket that Wardlow forgot.
Okay.
But Sammy's not wearing it, which is why when I first seen him I was like, oh, Sammy's not got a jacket. That's good storytelling, like continuity. But no, he's got a jacket. MJF gave it to him, or MJF had it delivered, whatever, but that all happened in between times. So Sammy Guevara's like, no, I don't want to put on the jacket. MJF is like, oh, come on, put on the jacket. Everyone's got a jacket, you look great in it. And Sammy's like, no, I'm not putting on the jacket. He's like really adamant, he's like, I'm not putting on the jacket. Chris Jericho just shouts at him. He's like, put on the jacket, it's a gift. So Sammy Guevara puts on this jacket, and you don't see what's wrong with it until the Inner Circle separate. Sammy Guevara's quite a short guy, he's early 20s, he's short, he's skinny. The jacket would fit Vader. The jacket is like a 4XL. It goes all the way down to his knees. The sleeves are almost touching the mat. And he's standing there and he's all sort of bummed out. And they don't comment it. Like, MJF doesn't say anything, Jericho doesn't say anything. He puts on the jacket and everybody's happy. And everybody's laughing. Like, clearly there's people ringside, there's people in the audience laughing. And it was a great little bit just to add in there, just a tiny wee bit. Because, again, they don't mention it. Again, it just happens. MJF starts to hype up Chris Jericho, being in the business 30 years, being, such a great competitor. So on and so forth, starts blowing smoke right up his ass. Then asks Jericho if he can touch his hair. Jericho's like, you want to touch my hair? And then they do the same thing they done last week when they were backstage, where they were doing, do you want to join the Inner Circle? Do you want me to join the Inner Circle? They were doing that. It's like, do you want to touch my hair? Do you want me to touch your hair? Do you want to touch my hair? Do you want me to touch my hair? They were doing that for like a minute and a half or something like that. It was great. And Jericho's like, fine, you can touch my hair. And he looks to the sky and he's just got this lock of hair hanging down that he normally does. And MJF touches it and then he's like, oh, no, Jericho's hair, I touched it. So he gets all giddy about it like a fan. And Jericho, all seriousness, he's like, right, cut the crap, cut the shit. He says cut the shit. Because they can say shit on AEW. That won't fly on the USA network with WWE, but they can say it in TNT. So he's like, right, MJF, cut the shit. Let's get serious. What's this about? What's your big announcement? And MJF gets all serious. Goes, you're the demo god. People tune in to see you, but the numbers don't lie. People tune in to see me. So while Chris Jericho sits at home watching Animal Planet, then Chris Jericho just goes, whoa, 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 whoa. And he gets right in his face. He doesn't look at him. Like clearly he's too seething. He's too angry to even look at him. He looks at the ground and he just, through gritted teeth, says, I hate Animal Planet. No need for it, no reason for it, just funny.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if they both sit down and write this stuff, or if it's just like a wee bit of improv, because I know Chris Jericho doesn't write a lot of his promos, especially against Matt Hardy. Him and Matt Hardy never wrote anything when Matt Hardy debuted. So when Matt Hardy got in the ring and he was going delete,
Yeah.
and Chris Jericho was saying elite, are you saying elite? Matt Hardy was like delete, and Chris Jericho would go elite, are you saying elite? So that, I mean, they didn't write anything, it was just comedy that they came up with on the cuff. But so this, again, this is great. I hate Animal Planet. No, again, we don't mention that. It's the same as the Sammy Guevara thing. Once they said it, they don't touch on it again. You know, people just laugh at it. So MJF is like, listen, they tune in to see you, they tune in to see me. Why don't we team up? And this is where we thought that it was going to go. We thought it was going to go that MJF joins the Inner Circle, or some sort of collaboration. So Chris Jericho says, do you want to join the Inner Circle? Just come out and say it. And MJF's like, okay. And he goes, I would like to jog. Would you like to go for a jog? Oh, no. And he turns around and he's like, Max, you're blowing it, Max, come on. He turns around again and he goes, right, okay, I start from the beginning. I would like to join the inner child inside of me spiritually to find my smile. And he turns around again, he's like, Max, come on, it's Chris Jericho, just come out and say it, just come on, you can do this, man, you look like an idiot, you can do this. He turns around and he manages to muster up whatever strength he needs to say it, and he comes out and he says, I would like to join the Inner Circle. The Inner Circle then all say no, apart from Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho asks everyone to hold up a second. He's like, whoa, hold on. Instead of deciding this now, why don't you and I meet up one-on-one? And everybody thinks that this is going to lead up to a match, but Chris Jericho just leans in close and says, for a steak dinner. And they treat it like a challenge. Like MJF gets right in his face and he goes, are you asking me to go for a one-on-one sit-down steak dinner with the Chris Jericho? You're on, buddy! And then they have this big massive handshake as if they're scheduling a fight.
Yeah.
But they're not. And then Chris Jericho says, I'll see you in the restaurant. And apparently that is actually going to take up some TV time next week. Chris Jericho and MJF are just going to have a sit-down steak dinner. But yeah, that whole segment was fantastic from start to finish. Nothing was boring, nothing was dull, nothing was ran out just a bit too long. It was perfect. Tony Schiavone and Britt Baker have a segment backstage. Well, not even backstage, sorry, they're in like a spa. So they're both lying there, they've got their face masks on. Britt Baker's in a robe, however Tony Schiavone's not wearing a top, but he's got the towel sort of covering his chest down. Britt Baker's going through her rules of being a role model, which is something that she's been doing for quite a while, but it's never been funny, or it's never been overly funny where I felt the need to talk about it. But this time she says that, to quote JR, rule number 5 of being a role model is to be the baddest bitch in the business. And she sits up to talk to the camera and she turns over and realises that Tony Schiavone's lying there naked, to which the two masseuse women that are there, Britt Baker and Britt Baker's assistant, all start screaming in like disgust. And Tony's like, I just thought that's what you did, I didn't realise that they were doing anything wrong. They end up holding him down and waxing his chest hair. And it just made me think of like olden days Tony when he was doing commentary for WCW, when he was great, and now I'm watching him being waxed. Really weird. We have a strange highlight video from AEW. However, there's no sound, there's no music, there's no commentary. It's like much like what we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, or last week, sorry, with the dog collar match. They have a moment where it's just like dead air.
Yeah.
So
that must have been like commercials. You know,
yeah, so it's like TNT cuts to commercial. Yeah. However, they played a quite well put together video package of greatest moments from AEW in the past year, but there's no sound, there's no background noise, there's no commentary, there's no music. Like,
Because it's like
just silence.
I don't think it was really content was.
Probably not content, for the people watching at home, but the people in Fight TV have access to this dead silence. It was strange, but as I said, the video package itself was quite good. Like, you get to see all these stuff that I had forgotten about. It was great. Orange Cassidy comes out as he has a TNT title shot against Cody. Cody comes out and he's blonde.
Wait, what?
Yeah, no more dark Cody.
I saw stuff on MGF and all that. I did not realise that.
No, Cody has dyed his hair back to blonde.
No.
Apparently he is not going for a heel character anymore. He's going back to babyface.
Yeah, but blonde isn't a babyface hair colour.
It's not, but the dark would have worked as a heel hair colour.
Yeah, I know.
But they've just decided.
He just looks like Spike from Buffy.
A good point. He does just look like
know.
Spike from Buffy.
It's just. It's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good on him.
I was really disappointed when he came out wearing. Well, I say wearing blonde hair. He wasn't wearing blonde hair. He has blonde hair. I was quite disappointed.
Black hair just looks so much better.
Yeah, and I just feel that now that he's got the TNT title back, it's just going to go back to the way it was before Brody Lee won it. And that's not what we wanted. We spoke about last week that, maybe now that he's heel and he's got the title back, the open challenge is going to stop. He's going to be quite a serious champion. He's not going to be the good guy anymore. Nope. Seems to just be going back to the way it was. Congosaurus, Cody's whole gimmick seems to just be back to what it was. Arn back with his ridiculous NFL play call sheet. Very, very disappointing. I'll agree with you there. However, what took my mind off of the future stories of Cody being face again is the match that he has with Orange Cassidy. The reason they're having a match is because Orange Cassidy and Cody have never tied up. And I'm not saying that in air quotes, like they've genuinely never done a tie-up. I believe they have been involved in a match together, but they've never done the collar elbow tie-up. They've never done headlocks or anything like that. Wrestling tying up, they've never done. So Orange Cassidy stands there with his hands in his pockets. Cody's having none of it. They do a little bit around the ring where Cody runs into the ropes and then comes back, and Orange just stands there unfazed, unhesitant and whatever. Doesn't flinch at all. So eventually Cody just pushes him. Orange Cassidy's glasses go flying off. It's like a whiplash push. It was quite... I don't know. I just feel like Orange Cassidy knew it was coming, but at the same time wasn't prepared to take that. So he goes flying back. Glasses come flying off. Then the match properly starts. Both guys put on a really great performance, which is why I said it took my mind away from blonde Cody. Cody ends up outside of the ring and halfway over the barricade, and then the camera zooms out and it shows that there's loads of Dark Order members standing there. So they all start to slowly approach. They climb over the ring post. John Silver's the member of the Dark Order that has started to build up a bit of a fan base just because he's funny. Appears and steals the TNT title from the announcer's desk. He runs round the ring and he tries to sneak up behind Cody to hit him with the belt. However, Orange Cassidy gets in the way, takes the belt off him. The referee then sends the Dark Order, tells them that they're not disqualified, but removes them from the arena. And each member of the Dark Order is jumping about, angrily confused as to why they're being sent away. So you're not in the match, that's why you've been sent away. They still do it. Like, there's social media. They're all on Twitter, each and every single one of them, and they're all on Twitter saying, can anybody explain to me why we were ejected from the arena? Can anybody explain why the referee was angry at us? Can anybody explain this? And it's, I don't know, it's good little heel character build up. Yeah, little details. So Orange Cassidy's staring at the TNT title belt and everyone's like, oh, is he going to hit Cody with it? But he gives it to Arn Anderson. He grabs Cody, throws him back in the ring. Again, they continue this really great match. They've got Cody locks on the figure 4 leg lock because Orange Cassidy took a bit of a weird bump where it looks as if he's injured his knee, kayfabe or shoot, I'm not sure, but he's got an injured knee apparently. So the figure 4 leg lock, which focuses on the knee, is really good for storytelling. Orange Cassidy reverses it. Cody then reverses it back. Orange Cassidy reverses it again. Cody then reverses it back. Oh no, sorry, there's only 3 reversals. So when Cody reverses it back into Orange Cassidy, he grabs the rope. Cody's forced to break it. Orange Cassidy hits his finish, which is like a tombstone, but the person's behind you. You're holding them by their legs. Yeah. So he drops Cody in his head. He goes for the pin, and we get a 2.9999999 count. There was like just enough space in between the mat and the ref's hand for air, maybe water. Like it was such a small space, and the bell is rung because the 20-minute time limit has expired, which I have not seen AEW actually utilise that 20-minute time limit in a long time.
That's a good idea.
And it's a really good idea because Cody, if it wasn't, another second on the match timer, Cody would have lost the belt to Orange Cassidy, and it was great. So, as I say, 2.999999 seconds, the expiry clock, the time clock runs up. The bell gets rung. Cody retains, and Orange Cassidy stands up and reaches for the belt, but the referee walks right past him and gives it to Cody. So Orange Cassidy, for a brief moment, obviously they're supposed to be exhausted, so Orange Cassidy's like, I thought I won it. Like, there's no reason as to why I shouldn't have won that. Congosaurus is saying that he thinks the time limit draw has only been done twice before. Probably right. As much as they say it at the beginning of every match, this match is a 20-minute time limit or TV time remaining if it's the last match in the card, they don't actually utilise it, but I thought it was really great for this bit. Yep, so that was that. Orange Cassidy sort of walks off, and Cody, Brandy, Arn Anderson, and I believe Dustin Rhodes comes out, and they're all just sort of the Nightmare Family, as they're called, but they're not heels. Weird name for a face group to have, the Nightmare Family.
I bet they're disgusted in Cody's hell.
Yeah. Speaking of Cody, actually, I was in Smith's toy store, and they have recently brought in AEW figures.
Nice.
But they've just put them on top of WWE figures. So you've got this big wall, which is all your wrestling stuff. You've got belts, you've got rings, you've got like play sets, and then you've got all the action figures. And what they've done is you've got the WWE sort of Elite series, which have got a lot more articulation and a lot more joints to them, and championship belts or different hands and heads and faces and stuff. And then you've got their standard figures. The AEW figures have just been put on top of the standard figures. So I was looking to see who they had. They only had Cody in stock, but I was looking to see who they had, and I took off one of the Cody figures, and behind it was Cesaro. I was like, what the fuck? Like, they don't even have their own shelf.
I think I get it because it's just wrestling.
It's just wrestling, yeah. Like, if they're not wrestling fans, or they don't, or the company, it's not really up to the person stacking the shelf, it's the company. So it's probably just like, here's your Lego, here's your Star Wars, there's your wrestling.
You can see like someone, like a kid that's still watching WWE wanting like a I don't know, like a Sheamus figure or like a Drew McIntyre figure, and then they get Cody.
They get Cody. Like, what is AEW? So yeah, the Cody figure. Now the only reason I wanted to mention this is because the Cody figure doesn't have the neck tattoo.
Okay.
And obviously I know how much of a non-fan you are of Cody's neck tattoo. And it's not just you, like, there's a lot of people out there that when he announced he got a neck tattoo and he showed us the picture, a lot of people were like, "What were you thinking, man?"
Yeah.
So yeah, the figure doesn't come with the neck tattoo, which I thought was just the funniest thing. I thought it was great. So, yep. That still makes me smile, actually. Jake Roberts and Lance Archer are backstage being interviewed. The interviewer asks Jake Roberts, "Why did you attack Jon Moxley?" Jake Roberts says, "Why do you climb a mountain? Because it's there." Not really, not really a response. Like, why do you climb a mountain? Because it's there. I don't know if that's a philosophical thing, but not really.
It's a metaphor. Like, there's something at the top of the mountain and you want to get there. Or like,
Well, yeah, but it's like...
There's an achievement in doing it.
Yeah, but they never mentioned the achievement. They just said, "Why do you climb a mountain?" Because it's there. I don't know. I just thought that...
What do you mean? It's like, it's a metaphor. Do you not get it?
No, I don't get it.
It's just like why someone would climb Mount Everest. It's just like, it's an achievement of climbing up a big mountain.
Is it an achievement attacking Jon Moxley backstage though? I don't know. I thought
no,
maybe...
he's talking about like the feud that he's gonna have with him is the mountain, and him getting that championship is the peak.
I bet he was asked why he attacked him backstage.
Yeah, that's what I'm
not like, why are you feuding with
Jon
Moxley?
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, he's just, that's the start of the climb. That kind of thing.
I would have gone with the scorpion and the frog metaphor.
Something that's way more complicated and...
No, because it's like, why did you attack him backstage? Well, it's Lance Archer's nature. He is a monster. He is the Murder Hawk monster. Anyway, so that's all they get to say. The interviewer asks why he did it. Roberts says, "Why do you climb a mountain? Because it's there." And then Jon Moxley appears out of nowhere and attacks both him and Lance Archer. Again, Jake Roberts takes off his vest and starts to slap Jon Moxley in the back with it, and then they're quickly separated and move on. Tony Schiavone interviews at ringside Matt Hardy, who has brought his whole family, his wife and like 3 kids, I think. So they're all there, and it shows you in the background that there's some members of the audience that are turning round and they look confused, like, "Oh, why is Tony interviewing this guy?" Rather than being like, "Oh, cool, Matt Hardy's like 3 seats away." There's just people like, "Who's Tony talking to?" So Matt Hardy reveals that he is 100% medically cleared to go back in ring and have matches. He's very happy about it. Like, he's very cheerful. He's very happy. Just very happy to be there. Very happy to announce that he is able to get back into the ring. And as the interview starts to wrap up, the lights cut out. Well, not all the lights, obviously, because the arena goes dark, but we can still see people. And a video package starts to play of all of Matt Hardy's characters. So like, there's the broken Matt Hardy, there's the V1 Matt Hardy, there's the Never Die Matt Hardy and stuff like that, and then somebody lights them all on fire, and it's revealed that that is Sammy Guevara, who says that he will not rest until he sends Matt Hardy home for good. The video package ends and Matt Hardy asks Tony Schiavone, "Did you know about this?" And Tony's like, no I didn't." Fuck. So Matt and Sammy will continue their feud, which I'm quite excited for. We get more of a tag team build. So FTR will face the winner of a four teams match, and they do like a sort of lottery pick. So there's 2 referees rolling this big barrel thing, and Tony Schiavone reaches in and picks out 4 names, and he picks out Private Party, Silvers and Reynolds of the Dark Order, Butcher and Blade, and the Young Bucks. So FTR gets in the ring, these 4 teams get in the ring, the Young Bucks grab a mic and they're like, "Listen, we're not here to super kick Tony, we're not here to super kick you, we're here to super kick," and then they pause for too long, they're like, "We're here to super kick these guys," and then they drop the mic and they quickly turn around and super kick Private Party, and it's like predictable to say the least. But they super kick everybody. FTR get out. Nick Jackson of the Young Bucks picks up this lottery barrel thing and throws it at Cash Wheeler, who just takes it right in the shoulder. It looks quite heavy. They leave. The Young Bucks dance about the ring. Well, not dance, like heel march about the ring. Private Party have to slowly roll out as if like when nobody's looking, because they're the only team left in the ring and they were just super kicked, so they just slowly roll out while no one's focusing on them to disappear. We then have the main event. So there is a women's match in this episode of Dynamite that was very quick and nothing too spectacular. It was Big Swole and the champion Hikaru Shida. All the belts were on offer this evening for the anniversary show. You had the tag team champions FTR taking on Best Friends. Cody takes on Orange Cassidy for the TNT. Jon Moxley takes on Lance Archer for the AEW Gold, and Hikaru Shida takes on Big Swole for the Women's Championship. So although all belts were on offer, none changed hands.
Okay.
So as I say, the women's match, very quick, very dull, nothing really much to say on that. But we've got the main event, Lance Archer and Jon Moxley put on a great performance. Lots of hardcore stuff. There's chairs, tables, there's the aluminium trash cans that they use quite a lot.
I love aluminium trash cans.
It's so cool.
Shane McMahon used them so well.
Yeah.
Like I think it was at WrestleMania, and he was wrestling Vince, I think.
I want to say
17 or 19.
I want to say 17. It was WrestleMania 17. Shane versus Vince in a street fight. And Vince brings out the trash can, but never gets a chance to use it because Shane uses it first, and
he places it on him.
Yeah.
And he jumps so far and like kicks it
from one side of the ring to the other. It was a tremendous use of the trash can. And after the match is done, you see this trash can and it's like all folded in and bent in itself, and because of aluminium, it's very malleable metal, especially when it's as thin as that. Great use of it. So these guys use that, put on one hell of a hardcore match that ends in a no contest. Eddie Kingston comes out with the Lucha Brothers and sort of chase off Lance Archer, and instead of trying to take on three guys, Lance Archer and Jake Roberts leave on Jake's sort of order. He's kind of like, right, come on, we're not doing this as a waste, let's just go. So they leave. The Lucha Brothers clear the ring of all the sort of ruckus, all the mess, and help Moxley to his feet. They then raise his hands to celebrate, and you can see that John's still not really sure where he is after the fight that he's just had. Congosaurus is saying that Jon Moxley actually got the win. It wasn't a no contest. My apologies then. I must have missed the pin.
Yeah, I was still to watch the rest of it, so I got to like Chris Jericho and all that.
The MJF Chris Jericho bit was probably the best part of the whole show. I must have missed the pin. I accept my apologies. So Eddie Kingston starts to speak to Jon Moxley, saying that they've been friends since like 2009 or something like that. So they go way back, and they were in so many different promotions together, and they've teamed up, they've fought each other. It was great, you know. They're best friends. He's glad to see that he is the champion, even though he didn't tap and even though he did this. So he quickly spins round, and I don't know if he's going for a spinning back elbow like the Judas effect, but he spins round and he just sort of slaps Jon Moxley in the neck, who sells it as if he was punched in the head. So he like really dazed and confused, he goes down, and as he's going down, Eddie Kingston gets him in a rear chokehold and puts him to sleep, all the while shouting about how he never got pinned, he never tapped, he never got eliminated from the Battle Royale, the 21 man Battle Royale. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Eddie Kingston versus Jon Moxley again. I don't know when they're going to do it, because Lance Archer, I don't know if they'll give Lance Archer another shot. I don't see why not, apart from the fact that he lost this match, which was his opportunity, but I don't see why he won't get another shot eventually. Brian Cage still has an opportunity to face him. Then there's going to be the 8-man tournament to find out who faces him, and then Eddie Kingston has thrown himself into the fold. So quite a few people may or may not all have opportunities at the Gold. So that closed the show for Dynamite, so we move on to a quick recap of SmackDown.
Before we do SmackDown, now that AEW's been out for a year, okay, would overall rating of AEW,
okay,
would you compete it with WWE at its peak? Like Attitude or Ruthless Aggression kind of era. CM Punk on this.
Okay.
On this time.
I would probably say during the during the CM Punk era, which that spans quite a while actually. After the Straight Edge Society CM Punk bit was finished, so when it was CM Punk in the title scene, whether he's holding it or going for it, I would say that does not compete against AEW, but AEW stands well ahead of WWE during most of WWE's existence, apart from the invasion. Well, not really the invasion, but most of the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars.
Okay.
The Monday Night Wars and the Attitude Era beat AEW. The CM Punk run beats AEW. Apart from that, I would say AEW is well ahead.
Okay.
And I think that comes down to the fact that WWE's poor writing isn't a new thing.
Yeah.
it's particularly bad during the pandemic, but it's not a new thing.
Okay. So there we go. 1 year anniversary, our verdict of AEW.
It's great, but WWE has had better moments in its lifetime. Yeah. But for a company that's only been alive for a year, and all of its champions are ex-WWE stars, still pretty good for a year in. It has its faults, but still pretty good for a year in. So SmackDown this week opens with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, who introduced the new roster to the new season of WWE television. Triple H welcomes a returning Daniel Bryan to the Blue brand, but a brawl breaks out between Kevin Owens and Aleister Black. Lars Sullivan gets involved in kicking people's heads in. Jeff Hardy also gets involved by attacking Lars Sullivan. Leads to a match between Lars and Jeff that ends in Lars winning. Jeff Jarrett was also present at the Thunderdome. I don't know if that was something that was planned, but he was there. He was on one of the screens. Speaking of the Thunderdome, actually a couple of things to say here. Speaking of the Thunderdome, there has been people who have come out to say that their faces are being used on screens when they are not present.
Ooh.
So there was particularly there was a woman who went to Twitter with one of these pictures where it's like it's SmackDown. You can see the ring, you can see the Thunderdome screams, and then it slowly zooms in to her face, and she claims that she was not watching wrestling that night.
Do you think it's made up? Do you think they'll...
I'm not sure. I am 50-50. Is she making it up because she doesn't like WWE? But then again, she registered to appear, on an episode of Raw or SmackDown or even NXT because they've got the Thunderdome as well. So she's clearly a fan if she's registered to appear on it, and she's not done any sort of ironic jokes or anything like that. She has just appeared as her watching it, so she is a fan of WWE. but then again, it's also not something I would put past WWE to fill in some screens. But okay, there we go. That's something. That's the Thunderdome. Lars Sullivan is another person I wanted to talk about. Lars Sullivan returned on SmackDown last week, and on the Saturday evening, some screen caps of messages that he was sending to someone over Twitter, and there were quite creepy requests of explicit pictures of this female, and her openly coming out and saying, "Okay, Lars, please stop. It's getting a bit weird now." And he then continues for like 3 or 4 messages to no response, and a lot of, I would say, continuously messaging people to no response, but continuously getting creepier and creepier. You're hitting harassment levels. We've got Congosaurus who's just jumped in there to say, if it is real, there's probably some small print that say you agree to them using your likeness for a set period of time, something... Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about the Lars Sullivan stuff. I believe the Lars Sullivan stuff is real, but the Thunderdome stuff, if it is real, you probably do agree without actually reading the terms and conditions that they can use your face if they so choose. You know, the same way the Apple stuff comes out with like a 99-page document. You're not reading that. It's
more of like just a petty kind of thing that you're using an old face. But,
so, Lars Sullivan is in some trouble, but that's not stopping his WWE run, his SmackDown run. So there we go. The New Day have their farewell match against Cesaro, Nakamura and Sheamus. Big E, Xavier Woods. What did I call him? Austin Creed? That's his real name, I think. I think that's his real name, which is why it's in my head.
I'll Google it.
You Google that. I'll cover this match. So Cesaro, Nakamura and Sheamus all team up to take on the New Day, which is Xavier Woods, Big E and Kofi Kingston. Again, Xavier Woods has been training while he's been out of action.
Austin Creed has been training.
That's his real name. Austin Creed has been training. He has been putting in some hell of an effort to get himself up to, even beyond the wrestling standard that he was at previously, because he was never the best of wrestlers, but he's definitely pulling some new stuff out of the bag. He's got some new moves and everything. So Cesaro is lying on the ground in the middle of the ring. Big E stands tall above him, and Xavier Woods puts his head in between Big E's legs and lifts Big E up with nothing but the sheer strength of his neck, and then just drops him right on top of Cesaro, picking up the victory. Fantastic. The New Day were the shining stars of this match and this whole show. However, Cesaro, Nakamura and Sheamus put on one hell of a performance as the bad guys as well. Bryan Danielson is back, or Daniel Bryan. I always thought, when I found out that Daniel Bryan's real name was Bryan Danielson, I thought that wasn't... I've never heard of somebody being called Danielson.
Oh, it's a second name.
So when it came out that was his real second name, he was Bryan Danielson, I was like, no.
I'm just more confused that, his first name's Brian.
Yeah.
You never hear of Brian.
Such a weird name. So Bryan Danielson is back. Daniel Bryan's in the ring, and he's building up the newcomers to the SmackDown brand, such as Aleister Black and a female competitor. It'll come back to me in a second. If it doesn't, I apologise. Anyway, he's building new people up. All these younger guys. The saviour of SmackDown. Who's that? Who do you think the saviour of SmackDown is? Who loves alliteration and referring to themselves as some sort of biblical character that was on Raw last week?
Dominic?
No. The Monday Night Messiah is now the saviour of SmackDown.
Oh no. SmackDown saviour.
SmackDown saviour, Monday Messiah. Anyway, so Seth Rollins comes out. He's got a new name that sticks to his alliteration, biblical character shite. Daniel Bryan hits the yes kicks on Seth Rollins, and then chases him away. Dominic and Rey appear to attack Rollins, but unfortunately Buddy Murphy comes out and everyone's like, oh, but no, he comes out and he attacks Seth Rollins as well. So it's like, oh cool, here we go, wee bit of progression to a dull storyline. Buddy Murphy approaches the Mysterio father and son duo for a handshake. However, they both turn their backs on him and walk away. So they're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
They're not quite there yet. We've got Congosaurus in the chat box just now. It was his original wrestling name and then he became Consequences Creed. I think he still goes by Austin Creed on Twitch. So yes, Xavier Woods originally went by Austin Creed, then Consequences Creed, and then Xavier Woods was what he decided to go with. Austin Creed is his YouTube name and his Twitch name, I believe, which must be why it was in my head. Yeah, so Congosaurus doesn't believe that Seth Rollins is now calling himself the saviour of SmackDown. Yes he is. I didn't realise SmackDown needed... No, actually, I did realise that SmackDown needed to be saved. I just don't think that Seth Rollins is going to be able to do that. That's a big ask.
Yeah, so he goes by Austin Creed on Twitch. But
is that his Twitch stuff?
Last live on 13th of October.
I believe that is round about the time the contract signing for the new clause came in where they weren't allowed to do their own third party stuff. SmackDown was quite dull. Surprise. So there's not too much to discuss. I believe SmackDown's like 2 hours long, whereas Raw is still a 3-hour show. Raw could very easily be a 2-hour show as well, and they would still cover what they need to cover. They just wouldn't have so much shit in the background. So Strowman versus Roman. Braun Strowman has an opportunity at the Universal title match because of Roman's victory over both him and the Fiend at Payback. Yep, Payback. That's what it was. That was the pay-per-view. So because Braun Strowman never got his opportunity, Roman Reigns was like, right, okay, fine, you come to SmackDown, I'm not going to Raw. So the way I've summed it up, right, is that it was a kind of unnecessary match. It wasn't too great, but it did have a couple of good spots.
Okay.
A couple of good moments. It ends with Strowman actually tapping out while Roman has him in a guillotine hold.
It's good to see that they're just making Roman just too strong. just
too strong. I mean, against the monster among men. There we go. So Jey Uso comes out after the match. Roman hits another spear on Braun as a message to Jey. Uso walked to the ring and said, "Hell in a Cell, this is you," before Roman then before Roman destroys Braun with a steel chair, and Braun Strowman's just lying there like a fucking corpse.
Jey, at least try and beat Braun before Roman.
Yeah, so
because if he would not be able to beat Braun.
No, definitely not.
So it's just...
so Roman hands Jey Uso the chair, turns his back, does a T-pose, expecting Jey to succumb to his darker side and attack him with the chair. However, he puts the chair down and Roman starts to smile and laugh, and he's like, "Oh my god, man, you're a coward, how do you ever expect to beat me, Hell in a Cell?" Jey then just starts to attack the champion. Roman goes down to the ground, Jey picks up the chair, starts to attack him with the chair. Officials separate them, and as Jey has been separated by officials, Roman hits him with a Superman punch and walks out to close the show. So that was SmackDown, Dynamite, Raw, and some NXT. We'll have more to talk about next week. As I say, we were on holiday for the past week, so wrestling wasn't my main priority, so I tried to catch up as much as I possibly could. So the draft then. Raw has drafted Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton, Charlotte, Braun Strowman, Matt Riddle, Jeff Hardy. Get this, Retribution.
What?
Like, they couldn't draft the whole New Day, but they can draft like 6 people in Retribution. Keith Lee, Alexa Bliss, Elias, Lacey Evans, Sheamus, Nikki Cross, R-Truth, Daba Kato, who I didn't realise was a Raw competitor, Titus O'Neil, Peyton Royce, Akira Tozawa. SmackDown had drafted Bayley, the Street Profits, Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, Lars Sullivan, King Corbin, Sami Zayn, Nakamura, Cesaro, Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode, Apollo Crews, Carmella and Aleister Black. So, Seth Rollins doesn't get to escape the forever boring storyline with Dominic and Ray now that they're all on SmackDown, and Aleister Black and Kevin Owens don't get to separate themselves from their boring storyline because they're both on the same fucking show as well. The winning show this week, look.
AEW?
AEW has to be. The W Factor champion was Big E.
Yes, it was.
However, the most notes I took were MJF and Chris Jericho.
Yeah. No, but no.
Match wise, I haven't really. Well, actually, match wise, the only person that really impressed me was Xavier Woods. Yeah, Xavier Woods. Really impressed with the matches. Eddie Kingston has piqued my interest with his storyline with Jon Moxley, and MJF's comedy was tremendous. So,
but like, nothing spectacular from anyone. So, do you want to just make it unoccupied?
We just vacate it.
Yeah.
I'm happy to vacate it. Unfortunately, all things considered.
And honestly, SmackDown wasn't that bad because of the New Day.
SmackDown was good.
Right. And AEW was great. In fact, so it was a better week of wrestling. In all honesty.
Oh yeah, a better week in wrestling.
But no one in particular.
Not a particular person though. So this week, for the first time ever, the W Factor will vacate the championship title, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens in the coming week.
I'll tell you this now: Cody won't get it because himself. But
I've now lost any interest in giving Cody the championship belt because of his instant 180 from a possible heel that he was going for.
I didn't even care if it was heel, just like a cool face.
Looked cooler. Oh well. Yeah, just looked cooler.
Oh well.
So recommend a match this week. I have went for Halloween Havoc 1997. The match I'm going for is the Las Vegas Sudden Death Last Man Standing match between Diamond Dallas Page and Randy Savage. The Halloween Havoc 1997 was somehow the match between these two was somehow able to stand out on the Halloween Havoc 1997 match card because it was littered with amazing clashes, feuds, tag teams, everything. It was amazing. I would recommend watching the entire pay-per-view, but my recommend for this pay-per-view is going to be the match between Diamond Dallas Page and Macho Man Randy Savage. It aired during the height of WCW versus NWO, which was a great era, nonetheless. And it's remembered as one of the best matches involving the highly anticipated feud. So there we go. Other news in wrestling: Raw Underground has been cancelled.
Yep, I was gonna say that. Not surprised.
Not at all. We were never fully interested in it. I believe there are some people on social media who are doing podcasts that focus on Raw Underground. They would only now have a library of 4 or 5 episodes, and that is them. Because
it's so much talent wasted.
Yeah. So much of an opportunity just completely wasted. It could have very well been a mini brand on its own. And then they tried to involve, and for some reason they tried to involve main roster stars from, I don't get it. The AEW company will introduce a trios belt, which will be a belt that can be held by 3 men in a team. Yeah. So, for example, the New Day can hold a belt each and every single one of them. So that has been done before. WWF had one, WCW had one, Ring of Honor had one that probably had the more popular run of the other 2 companies that I just said there. However, AEW have decided that that's something that they're going to do, so we'll have to wait and see.
It feels like there's so many belts to account for now. I'm not the biggest fan of that idea, but
too many belts, too many champions, sort of thing. Also, it has been revealed that there was a former NXT superstar or NXT trainee who had went over to AEW and was passing on secrets, passing on storylines back to NXT, and which is why if you have been keeping an eye on Brian Alvarez on Twitter, he releases the figures each Thursday for the Wednesday night shows, Dynamite and NXT. You'll see that NXT has started to increase in numbers, and a lot of people are putting that down to the spy, air quotes, spy, in AEW's locker room. I'm not sure if it was revealed who it was. I did try and find out, and I couldn't find an actual name. But there we go. Sabotage. Do you have any news to cover?
Yeah, so prestigious wrestling list.
Okay.
You follow them.
Mm-hmm.
For women's, Bayley got number 1.
Ooh.
Number 2, Becky Lynch.
Yep.
3, Asuka. 4, Charlotte. 5, Sasha.
Okay. I would probably put Becky Lynch above Bayley, but now that Becky Lynch is not in the company, I suppose Bayley would get a bit of an advantage there.
It just seems very paid. You know, like they pay them to do this.
Yeah.
Because is PWL strictly WWE?
I don't believe so.
Right.
I just think they might focus a bit more on WWE.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% on that one. But okay, anything else?
No.
No, I don't have anything else to cover apart from during a brief Ask Me Anything, somebody asked Kurt Angle who would be his dream opponent if he could come back for one more match.
John Cena, you said?
No.
No, did he not?
Miro?
His dream opponent would be Miro?
Well, I say dream, but it was probably more likely in the current wrestling promotions, who would you like to face for one match? And he said that he would like to face Miro.
Yeah, I get that.
They were like, why would you want to do that? And he was like, well, think about it. You know, American Olympic hero takes on Bulgarian brute. That's a story in its own.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so I mean, there we go. I don't think Kurt Angle's coming back for any any sort of action unless it's wearing a suit and doing some sort of backstage work. But yep, thank you for tuning in this evening, people. Our social media is Facebook, The W Factor, Twitter at The W_Factor Podcast, Instagram, The W Factor, Twitch TV, The W_Factor, YouTube, The W Factor Podcast. I believe our YouTube is now up to date. Yes, so feel free to share the links on our YouTube channel, all about your social media. Get the word out there. We have recently hit 100 likes on Facebook. I believe when I checked earlier on today it was 104. So thank you everyone for your likes and your social media activity. You know, continue to share, continue to like, follow, whatever you guys need to do, get the word out there. And we will see you next week. Thank you.
Bye.